Okay, General Shukla says he is not impressed with Iran's military counter, that it seems to be to literally shower the countries, the cities of Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Doha, countries like Kuwait and Bahrain with missiles and drones. But as Anjana mentioned, Master Mukherjee,
Barkha,
it is.
it's a blunt instrument, not a precise instrument, not a
I
technologically enabled
So
instrument.
you say that as a man of uniform. I'm saying, imagine Dubai that has never seen conflict. Imagine Abu Dhabi that has never seen conflict, that is bustling only, that is built on commerce and tourism and trade. Right? You see this, we see this as Indians. Left sees this as an Israeli. We are battle hardened. I am, Ambassador Mukherjee, thinking of the level of panic this is going to create in a city like Dubai that has literally been insulated despite being in the geopolitically in a sensitive place, has literally been insulated. What do you make of the direction this is going in? Will this put pressure on Trump to take a step back now that Khamenei is dead?
Well, Barkha, first of all, let me say in non-military diplomatic terms that what has happened to Khamenei is assassination ex- from external power on a sovereign state. Diplomatically, that's the way it's defined. I don't call it decapitation. Moreover, when a regime is unpopular in a country that has been under colonial rule, has been colonized, treated badly, and then the external force says that because of certain reasons, which some of which are very valid, like the development of nuclear weapon, etc., this person should be taken out. But he is the head of state or sovereign country whom you are taking out, along with his daughter, son-in-law, and granddaughter. They were all buried, all died together. This is not the time to discuss whether, with due respect to General Shukla, whether the Revolutionary Guard was effective or not. Certainly, they were not effective. Extremely foolish to have them in the compound. But when you do this to a country like Iran that believes in martyrdom, that's a Shia country who had warned its neighbors several times that if we are attacked and our leader is taken out, we will attack all American military bases in the region. Then those leaders told the Iranians, we will not allow our bases, American bases, to be used for directly attacking Iran. And that is true. The attacks came from Israel and from the American strategic assets around that area. To the best of my knowledge, I am not aware that any military base of the Americans in these countries were used. Having taken out the supreme leader, this country, which believes in martyrdom, also believes in revenge. What they will try to do, Barkha, which is extremely alarming, is a continuation of what they are doing, which is they are terrorizing people in these areas. And don't forget how many million Indians we have there. You cannot imagine how many telephone calls I got last night from people who are stranded in Dubai. Because it is unthinkable that Dubai's airspace would be shut. Under those circumstances, what I am saying is that, can you hear me, Barkha? Because I seem to, okay. They are trying to put a brake on the economic commercial hubs that these regions represent. They have successfully managed to shut down airspace, which means millions of people are stranded all over, particularly in Dubai. And that these are in places which are totally unprepared for war. They've only seen war
Correct.
on movie halls. They've never seen it. They are not battle hardy like Indians. Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would actually say that if this continues, let's say for 7 more working days, and along with that they damage the Straits of Hormuz, they would have got their revenge because people would then blame the Americans, particularly Trump, so close to the midterms, Because if oil prices go up, if the Straits of Hormuz is shut, let's say for 2 weeks, etc., the the American allies in the region would their economies would be devastated. It doesn't matter how many drones they are shooting down.
So
Some will get through.
is it your assessment, ma'am, that this could boomerang badly for Trump?
If it doesn't finish in 7 days, yes. If he manages to shut it down in 7 days with some kind of an agreement, and the agreement, Barkha, would be very similar to what we saw in Venezuela. In Venezuela, did he allow that Nobel Peace Laureate who foolishly gave up her prize money to Trump? Not that he needs any extra money. She thought she was going to become president of Venezuela. She did not. The same corrupt regime has just moved up one step further. The vice president is the president, and so on and so forth. In Iran, do you ever think, Barkha, that the son of the Shah of Iran, who lives in US, if he sets foot on Iranian soil, I can have a bet with you how long he'll survive. Huh? He will be killed at the airport itself. There is no way in which he can come back. So what is going to happen? Trump will make a deal with the rest and say, look, boys, we've taken out your commander-in-chief. Now you guys behave. We'll let you continue. If you don't, we'll take out the second in command, etc. There's going to be no regime change. This is an imagination. You can't impose regime change on Iran. Iran, if you could not do it in Venezuela, you think you could do it in Iran with so many volatile areas around them? No. There will be no regime change, Barkha. Once again in your show, I stick my neck out and say, Khamenei's successor will be selected. They have a kind of a system very similar to selecting the Pope, and they will put somebody in place. That person hopefully will be reasonable and will be able to do a doable deal with Trump. Because Barkha, regardless of what my co-panelists are saying, there is lots on social media floating from American negotiators who are being anonymous and saying there was a deal. There was actually a deal. But they didn't want the deal. They wanted to take out Khamenei.
So Ambassador Mukherjee, as usual, has been very, very precise and has said that there will be no regime change. Before I get General Shukla and left to respond, Anjana, I felt like you were getting some news, some information. I could see it on your face. One reporter recognizes this on another reporter's face. What can you tell us about what you're picking up in Abu Dhabi?
No, I mean, there's no official confirmation or anything. I'm sitting very close to my window. If I could just show you, that's where I can see, the Abu Dhabi skyline. And we heard a couple of booms. Yeah. So, we're suddenly wondering whether there's anything that we need to worry about.
But do you want to respond to Ambassador Mukherjee's point that these are cities where war is only seen on movie halls? The Israelis, for example, I was interviewing Israel's former envoy to India at 2 a.m. in the morning yesterday as news came in that Khamenei was killed. And there were sirens through our conversation and he didn't even blink. So Israelis are used to this. Indians are battle hardened. The people of the UAE, they ain't seen nothing like this. Anjana.
But Barkha, there is something which I need to tell you. And I'm not saying this in a very sycophantic manner. Though we are not people of the UAE and not used to it, there's something very unique about it, and that's what I'm reading on social media. People have this, an extra level of confidence on the leadership and on how the authorities are managing this. So, I see a lot of messages saying that, I still feel much safer here, for example, than walking on the streets of London and things like that. And people are not just hyping it up, but there is that sense. And I think authorities since yesterday have been giving out consistent messages, and the way things have been handled, the quick responses, the social media messaging. And also, even we know that hundreds and thousands of people, at least 22,000 people, if I am correct, are stranded currently at the Dubai airport. And there are messages saying that the UAE authorities are going to take complete charge of their expenses, accommodation. which part of the world would this happen? We Indians are used to getting stuck at the airports and flights delayed for hours, people complaining, tempers raging. But so there is this sense of confidence in the leadership for sure. But again, as I said, the psychological element of seeing these explosions or hearing these booms, even for someone like me who are used to, I was in Ukraine a few months ago and, hiding in the bunkers and getting these missiles and drone strikes every day and every night. But still, it plays in your head. And a question that a lot of people, why UAE residents or even people across the Gulf countries, what is baffling them is, it is difficult to understand what is Iran's gamble here by attacking the Gulf countries. I want to point out a few things that is very relevant to this context. One, we are very close neighbors to Iran. Dubai and Iran. And despite these decades of sanctions that Iran had, one of the reasons why Iran's economy, though there is an economic collapse now, but why they sustained these sanctions, one of the reasons is definitely its trade with Dubai. That's very active. And there are more than, I think, 2 lakh Iranians living here. There's close relationship. And though, as I said, the region never wanted to be dragged into this rivalry between Iran and Israel. And that is what they have been always trying and talking about.
I know. And that's my point. That is actually, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you short here. That's actually my argument. And in a way, Ambassador Mukherjee's argument to General Shukla and Lev. And let's hear from them now, because I believe that we all agree that the Revolutionary Guards did a terrible job of protecting their leadership, General Shukla. Clear. We all agree that there is no military capacity as an equal contender to take on the Americans or the Israelis. And hence the Iranians seem to be creating havoc in regions and cities that have never seen anything like it. Let me get a quick comment from Lev. Lev, we've just seen a statement from Israel saying it has dropped, the Israeli Air Force says they've dropped 1,200 bombs on Iranian positions in the last day of ops. Where do you see this going? Are you concerned as an Israeli that the UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, these are countries that could now say to Trump, end this now? Lev.
Look, we are all, we know that we really need the Abraham Accords. And in this sense, we need Bahrain and the Emirates on our side. But if we look at the big lesson, and I go back to what the ambassador says, that one big thing that we learned from the 12 Days War is what really keeps dictatorship regimes alive is not the fear of the big leader, it's not the fear of Putin or Khamenei. It is the ruthless middle layer of the secret police and security services who know exactly whose door to knock on and who drag you to questioning, and sometimes you vanish. And in this sense, we still do not see that the secret services of Iran are panicked enough to finish this regime. So in this sense, we need to see tomorrow, day after tomorrow, if we see good news from Iran.
Shukla, let's come to you. You said you're not impressed. And Ambassador Mukherjee says, okay, you're not impressed, but Iran may achieve. Look at this photograph. I want to tell you a story with the photograph on the screen. A friend of mine was stranded in Dubai, right next to Fairmont, where missiles were intercepted, and we saw a part of the luxury hotel on fire. He's now in a car trying to somehow flee. He's an American, trying to somehow flee into Oman. And he captured this on his phone, right? This is what people who go to business for Dubai, people who live in Dubai, tourists, businessmen, bankers, software engineers, they go to Dubai because they think Dubai is not a war zone. They go to Dubai because they think Dubai is not political. They go to Dubai because it's insulated. Is Iran achieving something here by punching above its weight in a chaotic fashion?
See, I'll reiterate. Iran is doing this because they have not developed military capacities for the political leadership to exercise. It is simple. When, say, in peacetime, the Indian military argues for peace capacities, some may call it jingoism. I say you build capacities because the use of these capacities are a political option. They just expand political options. And that is why a country like India is in the happiest space, because the control of the military debate is settled. Now we must invest in capacities, the exercise of which will always be political options. And this is where Iran and America have a distinct advantage over the Iranians, political militaries versus ideological militaries. So IRGC is concentrating on, building the ranks of besieged, taking down repression to every mosque. But when they are challenged militarily, they have no response. Now, where does this go from here? Now, see what should worry us even more. And it seems pretty apparent, if the Americans and the Israelis together, and here, Trump and Netanyahu are outliers, very distinct outliers. If they get control of the skies, if they manage to suppress the radars, they could, over a period of time, hunt down the leadership from the air. And at a much later date, when they think they have got some kind of control, they could insert ground forces. So I do acknowledge that regime change is a very difficult proposition, but we must not rule them out, because Netanyahu and Trump are very different kind of players. And here Israel has got, its Mossad, its Kurds. I think something is cooking. It could happen. It's not going to happen easily. In fact,
Can it happen from the skies?
Yeah,
Has there ever been a regime change from the skies?
Very, very interesting point. Now, may I make 2 points?
Yes.
The last time it happened, to my knowledge, was in Yugoslavia. Thereafter, merely control of air did not allow regime change. But the kind of control of air you have today with this 5th generation algorithmic digital kind of warfare, you have got complete control of the skies. You are operating with gay abandon. And once you do that, it is a possibility, something which Trump and Netanyahu may risk. The last point I would like to make is that what will, cause Trump to pull back is not these kind of disruptions, but American body bags. If those American body bags start reaching home and he comes under domestic pressure, his poll numbers are already low, but those body bags are not reaching because the IRGC military seems to me, at least as of now, pretty blunt. The only tool they have perhaps up their sleeves is those hypersonics, which they unleashed last time. If they come, we'll see how they fare. But on current evidence, it seems to me that, the Israeli-American military, they have a distinct advantage over the IRGC.
Okay, so I just want to say, General Shukla, there's no two ways about who has the more commanding military, who has the capacity. But if you see the images on your screen, Anjana can say these are the kind of scenes we're seeing from airports. This is, I'm told, this is Dubai. This is a scene from Dubai airport. My producers are telling me we are also seeing evacuations that took place at the Dubai International Airport in the midst of thousands and thousands of passengers stranded. Ambassador Mukherjee, let me bring you in. You believe there will be no regime change. So we also have to acknowledge that Trump has different priorities and Netanyahu has different priorities. This is a coordinated operation, but the two men don't have identical political goals. Trump may have also wanted to change headlines at home. Trump has a midterm coming. Israel has a very different mindset when it comes to protecting itself. By the way, the video you see on your screen is of evacuations taking place at Dubai International Airport. As parts of it faced missile debris as they were intercepted over the skies of UAE. We also have reports that one of the runways close to the Fly Dubai operations has sustained damage. So, Ambassador Mukherjee, it's over to you.
To say that overwhelming military power, whether from the sky or on the ground, does not necessarily result in changing the mindset or regime change. And one prime example of a country that has destroyed empires is Afghanistan. If you look at Afghanistan, what military power did they have? Even now. But they are giving the Pakistanis a good bashing. As far as Americans are concerned, there is a very big difference between Americans and Israel. Israelis and Indians are very similar. When we go in, we are ready for the body bags and the country is ready for body bags. Whereas it was a famous American military historian who said that using air power is like having an affair. It provides satisfaction without commitment. I can't think of a better way of describing this kind of power from the air. How much are they going to go? It's a densely populated country. 50% believe in jihadi ideology. Everyone believes in martyrdom. The attacks are on Sunni countries and on Americans and on those and on Israel whose right they don't accept to exist. So what I'm saying is Trump, whose popularity rating right now is 38%, is he going to risk American body bags because he can bring regime change if he puts boots on the ground? The
Yeah.
Israelis will have no hesitation in doing that. But if, let's say, even 10 body bags come, or worse than that, Barkha, let's say that 20 jihadis in Iran capture 5 American soldiers, oh my God, then you will see images that I don't want to see. Okay? And when he does this, let's not forget one more thing. These jihadis are spread all over the world. We should know that, no? Barkha, you and I, we live in India. These jihadis will go after innocent American citizens everywhere. They could bring down a civilian airliner. They could do anything. These are
Yeah.
desperate people and they want to take revenge. So it's not so simple to say that, yes, there is overwhelming military power. Please look at the history of Afghanistan till today, right from the time of the British Empire, when they exterminated every British soldier except one. They cut his tongue off. So he
Yeah.
can come to Delhi and write down the tale but not speak it. These are the kind of people you deal with in Afghanistan. There's not much difference in Iran. In fact, I would say the Iranians, after the horrible way in which I'm not an admirer of his, but it was a horrible death with his entire family buried in rubble, being dragged out right now. They will take revenge. Of course, they will
Okay.
take revenge. And
Okay,
air
that's a EPA. And EPA is like having an affair, as you just quoted.